Hey guys, this is week 5 of Virtual Outreach Python Programming. I hope this finds you well, and specifically this video is about programming for Python, so if you're here for Scratch programming, there should be another video for that. Anyways, Python is a programming language that some of you may have heard about that is used worldwide. It is like any other language in that it has words with meanings, punctuation, and specific syntax. It is very accessible and easy to use. What is Python? Specifically, Python is an object-oriented programming language that is used by many software engineers. It works across many platforms and operating systems, including Mac, Windows, Linux, and more. It is very quick at compiling and testing code, which makes troubleshooting easy, and it has a fairly simple syntax that is somewhat similar to English, making it easy to understand and use. How is Python used? Python has many applications and is widely used by programmers. One major use is for web development. There are several web frameworks or frameworks that support the development of web applications that use Python as their major language. It can also be used for data science. Python is very effective at number crunching and running through lots of data in a short amount of time. This can be applied to several high-level concepts such as machine learning or data analysis. On our robotics team, we mostly use Python for data science. With our computer vision system that allowed us to use our robot to see objects on the field, we needed Python scripts in order to run through many tests and collect and analyze large amounts of data. Finally, Python can be used for general scripting, which entails small programs written to do certain tasks. This is what we will be using Python for. Have no experience in Python programming? Fear not, this is what this video is for. We will be teaching you some basic Python programming including print statements, mathematics, strings, and if and else statements. Next week, we will be teaching you some more advanced Python programming, but for now, let's go ahead and learn the basics. Before we get started, this part of the video is meant to be a tutorial, so it is advised that you follow along on your own computer. You can also pause the video whenever you need to. To get yourself set up to code in Python, go to a website called repl.it, then click the button in the top right corner that says Start Coding. Then it will ask you for the language you want to code in, and you should click Python, then Create REPL. Now you should be all set up. Looking at the user interface, there are 3 major columns. The first column on the left is for the different REPLs that you make, but we will only be needing one for this tutorial. The second column is the scripting column, in which you will write your code. The third column is the console, in which different things will show up that you code. To run your code, click the button at the top of the screen that says Run. Okay, let's get started. First off, what are variables in Python? Variables can be used to store information or value and can be changed using code. In Python, just type the name of what you want to call the variable, then set it equal to a value. So in my example, I'm just going to use the name var and then make it equal to a number in this case. So a good thing to note is that Python variables can hold a variety of different types, including strings, integers, doubles, booleans, and chars. So in essence, they can hold numbers, words and phrases, and true or false statements. And to change the value, you simply just have to set it equal to another value. So if I wanted to make another variable, but this time I wanted it to equal a string, I have to note that I have to put the quotation marks and then just put whatever I want. And an important thing to note is you can also change what a variable is. So for example, for my variable var2, I can change it from hello to goodbye if I wanted to. Some other important things are you can also do booleans, which basically are either have a value of true or a value of false, and those will come very important soon. So I can just do true or false. And then along with doing integers such as 4, I can also do decimals such as like 3.45. It's important to note that if you run this code, nothing will actually happen because you're just setting the names of variables, you're not actually telling it to do things. So how do you think that we can see if the values have changed or not? Well, there are these things called print statements where you can print different things. So for example, the way that you use it is you just type the word print and then parentheses, and then in the parentheses is whatever you're going to print. So if I wanted to print hello, I could just type hello simply, and then if I run it, you'll see that it says hello in the console. However, you can also print numbers, so if I wanted to print like 5, you can print that. And you can even print variables. So see my variables above, let's say I wanted to print variable 2, I'll run that, and then since I change it to goodbye, it's going to say goodbye. Print statements become handy because you can print values into the console so we can see them. Python can also do basic arithmetic and more complex mathematics, and so some of the basic mathematic operations in Python are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And so I'm just going to make a new variable and then set it to a value. So, for example, if I wanted to do like 3 plus 5, you just do 3 and then a plus sign and then a 5. And then now that variable is stored the information of 3 plus 5. You can also do subtraction, so 3 minus 5 or whatever. You can do multiplication, so 3 times 5, and then division, so 3 divided by 5. And you'll see if we print any of those things, so let's print it real quickly. It should print like what the actual value is. So you see it printed 0.6, which is 3 divided by 5. Note that math can also be used on variables. So for example, let's say I wanted to print like variable 4 times variable 1 or times variable, then I could do var 4 times var, and it should print 0.6 times 4, which is 2.4. So the last thing we're going to learn about today are if and else statements. And so if statements are operators in which the condition or conditions that pass the condition or conditions you pass into the operator, if they pass as true, then whatever is inside the if statement will happen. But if the condition or conditions pass as false, then whatever is inside of the if statement will be skipped as the compiler is running through the code. So the syntax for an if statement is as follows. It starts with the word if, followed by parentheses, and then inside of the parentheses is the condition that you want. So you can do anything as simple as a Boolean, so like true or false, and like I said before, it only runs if whatever's inside of the parentheses is true. So let's go with our variable we did above, var3. So obviously var3 is false, so it's not going to run, but I'm just going to continue with it. So after you do your condition in parentheses, you need a colon, and then a new line, and then anything under it that is tabbed over, as you can see, it's tabbed over one space. That means it's inside of the if statement. So, for example, let's say I wanted to do that, print hello. So if var3, which means if this is true, then it will print hello. But as you can see, var3 is obviously false. So when we run it, it doesn't run because this is false. However, let's try changing the value of this variable to true. Oops. And so when we do that, it does print hello at the end. So as you can see, these are really helpful for when you're doing simple scripts where you need to sometimes skip code and sometimes run it. And one other thing you can do with if statements is you can have else statements. And then the way that the else statements work is they start the same way with else and then colon, and you don't need a condition for else statements. And then anything inside of an else statement will only run if the if statement doesn't run. So, for example, if we use this as an example, since var3 is true, this part will run, the if part will run, and the else part won't run. So if we run it, the goodbye did not run. However, if we change the var3 to false and ran it again, it would say goodbye. One final thing you can do with if statements is, instead of just putting a boolean for the condition on the if statement, you can compare something, and depending on it whether it's true or false, it will run or not run. So for example, I'm going to use the variables var and var4. So if I do, so the simple comparator operators that you can use are greater than, less than, equal to, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So for example, if I did var is greater than var4, so what this is saying is if var is greater than var4, then it's going to print hello, or else it's just going to print goodbye. So if I run it, since var is greater than var4, it's going to print hello. One final note is that you don't actually need the parentheses around your condition. I was just adding it for clarity, but you can just do it simply like this.
And that is the basics of Python for this week. I hope you enjoyed it and try the activity on the worksheet if you guys liked it. Thank you so much for tuning in to week 5 of Narwhal Connections, and I hope you all are staying healthy.